जय जिनेन साधर्मी बंधुओं। तो आज हम लोग कॉस्मोलॉजी ओल्ड एंड न्यू का तीसरा भाग शुरू करने जा रहे हैं। हमने अपने भाग दो में पार्ट दो में जहाँ पर विराम दिया था वहीं से आज हम प्रारंभ करेंगे। तो भाग थ्री में हम लोगों ने मैटर के कुछ प्रॉपर्टीज़ को देखा था। तो हम शुरू करते हैं श्लोक के साथ, जहाँ पे हमने पिछले भाग में विराम दिया था। द स्कंधा इज डिस्क्राइब्ड एज फॉलोज इन पंचास्तिकाय। खंधा या खंद देसा खंद पदेसा या होतिम परमाणु इति ते च यप्पा पुग्गलकाया मुणे यव्वा खंदम सयलसत्समत्थम तस्सदु अद्धम भणन्ति देशोत्ति अद्धम च पदेशो परमाणु चेव अविभागी। Matter exists in four main forms: Skand, Skand Desa, Skand Pradesh, and Parmanu. So here what we understand now, or what we know, or what information exists here is that matter is divided in four parts. One is Skand, another one is Skand Desh, Skand Pradesh, and Parmanu. The complete molecule of matter is skandha. So here skandha means the whole molecule, like H2O. So this is the molecule of the water, and that means skandha is H2O. A half of it is skand desa. So if we further divide the molecule H2O in OH minus and O plus, then we will have H2O, right? OH minus plus in 2H plus O minus, then you will have H2O, right? A half of that half is Skand Pradesa. So if we divide hydrogen further in two atoms like HH, that could be called Skand Pradesa, and what cannot be divided is the primary atom. So basically that is electron, and in that sense, or maybe further particle that cannot be divided. No one has ever seen a molecule, these particles being so small that even the best microscope fails to reveal them. The diameter of a molecule has been measured to be 1/10,000,000th of an inch. A drop of water is about 1/8 of an inch. If it is enlarged 5 crore times such that its diameter is nearly 100 miles, the molecules of water within it would appear to have 1 inch diameter. Yes, so you can, this is just to make some sense what it does mean, the Skand Pradesa. Yeah, and if the drop were magnified to the size of the earth, the molecule in it would appear about the size of oranges. Okay, the velocity of molecules in a gas varies from 1 to 7 miles per second, while it should be remembered that the velocity of a rifle bullet seldom exceeds half a mile per second. 7 miles per second is such a high velocity that if a body be projected with this velocity from the surface of the earth, it would go beyond the earth's attraction and would never return. By indirect methods, it has been learned that 1 cubic inch of air contains that many of molecules. Yeah. Now you can use STP and NTP and you can calculate the Avogadro number. So it has been estimated by Professor Andrade that the number of molecules in 1 ounce of water is so great that if every man woman and child in the world were turned to counting them and counted fast, say 5 a second, day and night, it would take about 4 million years to complete the job. So this is they are talking this is the author is talking about 1 ounce of water, the molecules in 1 ounce of water. Wow. Although the molecules are so very small, they are not relatively near neighbors. The space between them is much greater than that occupied by the molecules themselves. Within the solids, the molecules oscillate to and fro about a mean position. In the liquids, they are more free to move, and in the gas, the agitation is very great. For instance, the separation of molecules in a stream is about 12 times greater than in liquid water. On account of this greater freedom in gases, the molecules are constantly colliding one against the other. The number of collisions per second being about 6 million, that is, times per second. I mean, just a number. Well, it is like 60 lakh, 6,000 million. It is like uh, 6 into 10 raised to the power 9 collisions per second. It means 1 collision per nanosecond. Okay, the mean distance traveled between successive collisions has been estimated to be 3 millionth of an inch. This is the picture of early burly tumultuous dance of molecules within a gas. We shall start to explore the interior of a molecule now. In a molecule of common salt that we can see on the right hand side as figure 1, this is the figure 1. There are two atoms, one of sodium and the other of chlorine. But in a complex molecule like that of alone, the number of atoms is about 100. Okay, according to Jain view, the material atoms have the capacity of compressing an infinite number of themselves into one molecule. We shall presently bring forth the evidence of modern science in confirmation of this view. When a gas is heated, the molecules within it rush about more vigorously, and if the temperature is sufficiently raised, the molecules begin to fall to pieces. That is, the atoms composing them get separated out, just as cluster of balls glued together would break up under hard impact. The older view with regard to the atom was that it is like a billiard ball, as hard, unbreakable, and the same nature all through like a jelly, but this conception of atom was revised by Sir Rutherford. According to him, the interior of the atom is a solar system. That is, an atom is not solid like a billiard ball, but highly porous like the solar system. From a series of difficult experiments, Rutherford came to the conclusion that an atom contains within its center a massive charge of positive electricity, with a number of negative electricity particles called electrons going round the former with very great velocities in fixed orbits like the planets round the suns. The specifications for the hydrogen atom are given below. The positive charge in the center is called the proton. Okay, this is the hydrogen atom. So its diameter is this, weight is this, electron diameter is this. I don't know this diameter because until now, as far as I know, the electron structure is not well known. Yeah, weight is this, and proton is this, weight that of hydrogen atom. Okay. The central positive charge of electricity, the nucleus, has a diameter only about a 10,000th of that of the atom, and practically all the mass of the atom resides in it. Yeah, that's true. The diameter of an atom is 1 part out of 20 crore part of the inch. The lightest atom is that of hydrogen, having a mass only 1 quadrillionth 1 followed by 24 ciphers part of 1 masha gram. Hmm. While the mass of an electron is even 2000 part of this. Yes, the diameter of an electron is 5 billionth part of an inch, which is about 2500 million part of the diameter of human hair. Well, I'm not sure about it, because diameter means it should have some kind of circular or spherical or something like that shape. But as far as I know, the standard model or string theory suggests electron is in a string. As far, well, that is also not so clear. So let's just assume that this number is correct. Not correct, but is okay for certain assumption. But of course, the electron is much lighter than proton, and also hence the size. Okay. These electrons revolve around the nucleus several quadrillion times per second with a speed of 1300 miles per second. All these figures tend to show that matter is extremely porous. This porosity of matter was clearly understood by the Jain thinkers several centuries before the Christian era. It is this fact which is expected by word Sukshma Parinama Vagahan Shakti, subtlety and accommodating power of the molecule. It is interesting to quote in this connection the word of Professor Eddington, the great astronomer royal at Cambridge. He says, if we eliminate all the unfilled space in a man's body and collect the nuclei and electrons into one mass, the man would be reduced to a speck just visible with a magnifying glass. In order to understand fully how innumerable atoms of matter may be compressed in one unit of space, let us proceed a little further and look into the constitutions of atoms as revealed by modern science. The positive charge of electricity in the center of the hydrogen atom is called the proton, and there is one elementary charge of negative electricity called the electron revolving about this proton in a circular orbit of 125 million part of an inch. In the same way, an atom of helium gas contains 2 protons and 2 neutrons in the center and 2 electrons moving around the central nucleus. Then there are atoms with 3 protons in the center and 3 electrons going around, and so on, until in the heaviest atom of uranium metal there are 92 protons in the center and 92 electrons going around them in different orbits. Well, it is in an old book, so here it is considered uranium as the heaviest metal. Heaviest element. In each case, the number of protons is equal to number of electrons. The atoms of iron, copper, silver, and gold consist respectively of 26, 29, 47, and 79 protons and electrons each, and the number of neutrons are 30, 35, 71, and 18 respectively. So they are kind of exceptionals of periodic tables, I guess. In the nucleus, the number of neutrons differs in different atoms. In the nuclei of helium, lithium, and beryllium atoms, there were respectively 2, 4, and 5 neutrons, and so on. In figure 3 are shown of helium, lithium, and beryllium. The sign plus refers to the proton and sign minus refers to the electron, and the neutron is shown by small black disk because they are charge neutral, so they don't have charge. The great variety of matter in the universe depends on the fitting together of 92 kinds of atoms to form all manner of structures. These 92 different kinds of atoms consist of 92 different nuclei with corresponding swarms of electrons. We have just mentioned that on sufficient heating, the molecules of matter get broken up into the constituent atoms. The question next arises as to what happens when an atom or atoms are continuously heated to a very high temperature. The temperature within the interior or certain stars is very high. The highest temperature estimated by Eddington being about 4 crore degrees centigrade. What would be the state of atoms inside these stars? At these high temperatures, the atoms begin to lose their outer electrons. That is, the electrons which compose the body of the atom begin to separate from the atom. Such atoms, in the language of science, are called ionized atoms, and the process of separation of the electrons from the atom is called ionization. In some cases, it happens that atoms lose entirely their rings of electrons. That is called the fully stripped atom. The atoms are then called stripped or fully stripped. Yeah. The theory of stripped atoms has found a beautiful confirmation in the following important and curious astronomical discovery. Sirius Lubdhaka, which is the brightest star in the heavens, in the sky, has got a dark companion 10,000 times fainter than itself, which was discovered in 1845 by Alvan Clark. From calculations, the mass of the dark companion was found to be 1/4 of Sirius, or 1/3 of the Sun. It has a diameter 180 of the solar diameter and surface temperature 9,000 degrees, while the surface temperature of the Sun is only 6,000 degrees centigrade. A simple calculation shows that the material of which this star is composed is 2,000 times more heavy than the heaviest metal known on Earth. An ordinary layman thinks that either gold, mercury, lead, or platinum is the heaviest metal. It is true that platinum is the densest metal, densest metal known on Earth, but have you ever dreamed that there is somewhere in the universe a metal 2000 times denser than platinum, and as to how could it have been formed? What must be the peculiarity associated with the atoms of which it is composed? Professor M.N. Saha, DSCFRS, says it is apparent that the star consists only of stripped atoms. That is to say, of atoms which have lost some of their outer rings electrons. This must be due to the high temperature prevailing in the star, but it is not at all clear how stripped atoms with a large excess of positive electricity can be so closely packed. Because as the charge are of the same sign, the tendency would be for infinite dispersion instead of abnormal condensation. But such cases of abnormal condensation are not altogether unknown in physics. The nucleus of atoms consists of large excess of positive charge which are somehow packed within a very, very small compass. Yes, that's true. The last words of the renowned physicist Dr. Saha mean nothing but that an innumerable number of atoms in a subtle state can occupy 1 unit of space. This was the teaching of Jain Tirthankaras centuries before the advent of modern science. So basically here the idea is that, well, that is true because the space is infinite. Within an atom as well, the space between the proton and electron is larger than the space that electron and proton occupied by themselves. So when there is a close packing, that simply means when the material gets denser, the same proton, electron, and neutron, the fundamental particles, they rearrange themselves in such a way so that the material or the element gets denser or rare. So it simply means that the the definition given by the Jainacharyas, that here that they says that it has this beautiful property that space, um, wait, let me see somewhere here. It says that the space is the same pradesha of space can can accommodate one particle or one pudgala, or it can accommodate many pudgala. So it is evident from these discoveries of science that yes, it can happen. Okay, here it says, this was the teaching of, okay. With regard to this kind of matter, Eddington wrote a few years ago, 1 ton of such nuclear matter can be easily carried in a waistcoat pocket. But now comes to the but now comes to the news that matter even more dense than this has been discovered. Ruby Tabois says in some of these bodies, the matter has become so densely packed that a cubic inch weighs a ton. So 1 inch long, 1 inch width, and one inch height material may be as heavy as 1 ton. So now you can imagine that 1 cubic inch of material is like 1 ton, and it's because they are closely packed. The density is so high. Yes, it means that the one pradesa of space, as already mentioned in the book, that one pradesh of space now is occupied by many particles or pudgalas. The smallest known star discovered recently is so dense that a cubic inch of its material weighs 620 tons. Now you can imagine that. Wow. A piece of matter 1 inch long, 1 inch broad, and 1 inch thick has a weight over 17,000 pounds. Can you dream it? Can you believe it? Nevertheless, it is a fact. Yeah, it is a result of subtlety and accommodating power of molecules. Sukshma Parinam Avagahan Shakti, that is already mentioned in many Jaina Shastras, that innumerable atoms of matter can occupy one pradesa. Modern skeptics thinks and wonder whether the phenomenon of packing of stripped atoms was known to ancients. However, the fact is there. The definition of Pradesa is full of significance. We reproduce it once more. Pradesa is the unit of space occupied by one indivisible atom of matter, but in which innumerable atoms of matter may exist in subtle state. So, this statement has been verified, or this statement, or we can let's say in this way, in scientific language, this hypothesis has been checked and found a lot of evidence in its favor. In the above mentioned text, we already have seen that there are a lot of stars where the material is so dense that 1 cubic inch of material can weigh 600 tons, that we don't find on Earth. So it simply means the one pradesa, or the unit of space that is known as one pradesa, is defined as that one indivisible atom of matter occupies it, but it has the capability to accommodate innumerable atoms in subtle state. So it is clearly visible. Now we can see it clearly. The recent discovery of quasars and pulsars in the last decade has further confirmed this view. Yes, these are distant celestial bodies situated almost at the border of the universe, wherein matter has been concentrated in an enormously dense manner. Now we will read dharma. So as we already know that we are reading six elements, and the previous one was the space, akash. Okay, it is dharma now. Now we take up the discussion of the next component, dharma, in the main sutra. Ajiv kaya dharma dharmakash pudgala. Dharma has been defined by the Jain writers in the following terms. Gaman nimittam dhammam. The auxiliary cause of motion is dharma. Gai pariणायान धम्मो पुग्गल जीवान गमन सहयारी तोयम जह मच्छाणम अच्छताणेव सोणेयी. As water helps the movement of a moving fish, so does the medium of dharma help the motion of matter and soul, but it does not move those which are not moving. It should be noted that the word dharma in the Jain Shastra has been used in entirely a different technical sense than it is ordinarily understood to mean. Hindu philosophers have used the word in the sense of duty or righteous deed, dakshati dharma, but according to Jaina writers, dharma means the ether of space, the medium of motion, peculiar although it may seem. So the first thing that has to be understood, that dharma does not force anything to move. However, it is helpful in moving things, like water does not force fish to move, but water helps fish to in moving from one place to another. Yeah. जीवा पुद्गलयोर्धम्मः सहकारी गतिर्मतः अमूर्तो निष्क्रियो नित्यो मत्स्यानां जलवद्भुवि. Dharma is known to assist the motion of soul and matter. It is formless, inactive, and eternal. So it is, these are characteristic of this dharmas. The dharma, it is formless. There is no form of it. Inactive and eternal. It doesn't react with anything. Not with jeev, not with pudgala, not with adharma, not with space, not with time. It behaves like water towards the fish in the world. Kriya परिणतानां यः स्वयमेव क्रियावताम् आदधाति सहायत्यं स धर्मः परिगीयते. जीवानां पुद्गलानां च कर्तव्ये गत्युपग्रहे जलवन्मत्स्यगमने धर्मः साधारणाश्रयः. The medium which helps the motion of things already in motion is called dharma. Just as fish takes the help of water in its movement, so do soul and matter take the help of dharma when they begin to move by themselves. Okay. Dharma sa tattvike rukto yo bhaved gati karanam जीवादीनां padarthanam matsyanam udakam yatha. The fulcrum of motion for substances like soul, etc., is called dharma by the adepts. Jalvanmatsayanasya tatra yogati karanam जीवादीनां padarthanam sa dharma paravarnitah लोकाकाश व्याप्य संस्थितो मूर्तिवर्जितः नित्यावस्थित संयुक्तः सर्वज्ञ ज्ञान गोचरः. So here we have some references. So probably for these sutras. Well, I don't know Sanskrit. I'm just reading the Sanskrit, but I'm trying to understand from the English text. That's unfortunate that being an Indian, I don't understand Sanskrit. That's unfortunate, but that's how it is. Well, well, that's life. That which is the cause of motion of substances like souls is dharma. It helps motion just as water helps the motion of a fish. It pervades the whole universe. So we should understand that dharma is in the universe, not beyond the universe. Okay? Is without form and eternal, and its true nature is known only to the omniscient. In Panchastikaya of Sri Kundakunda, we have the following detailed description of Dharmastikaya. So, the Panchastikaya Shastra, it was written by Sri Kundakunda Acharya, and following are the slokas. Dhammatikaya marasam avarangadham asaddamaphasam logagadam puttam pihul mankha पिहुल्मसंखा दीय पदेशम अगुरु लघु गेहिम सयातेहिम अनंतेहिम परिणदम निच्चम गदिकी रिया जुत्ताड़म कारणभूतम सयम कज्जम उदयम ज मच्छाणम गमणानुग हयरम हवदिलोए तह जीव पुग्गल्लाणम धम्मम दव्वम व्याणेहि जादो अलोग लोगो जैसिम सभावदोय गमन ठिदी दोविय मया विभत्ता अविभत्ता लोयमेत्ताय णय गच्छदि धम्मथिगमणम ण करेदि अन्न दव्यस्स हवति गति सप्पसरो जीवाणम पुग्गलाणम च विज्जद जैसिम गमणम ठाणम पुण तेसि मेव संभवत ते सगपरिणामेहिम दुगमणम ठाणम चाकुवन्ति. Wow. Dharmastikaya being a non-corporeal, a murta, it's not corporeal, so it's not made of atoms or something like that. Substance has none of the qualities ordinarily associated with matter. That is, it is devoid of qualities of contact, taste, color, smell, and sound. It is a continuous medium pervading the whole universe, although truly speaking, it is non-atomic in nature. That is, without grains in its structure for purposes of practical convenience. It is regarded as made up of number of units of space, that is pradeshas. So we have to understand that in true sense there is no grain, it is continuous. Okay, but to understand it for our convenience, we use that notation that it has pradesha. It undergoes an infinite number of modification of an incorporeal nature and has the characteristic property of persistence through birth and death. Hence, it is a real and permanent substance. It remains unchanged by the motion of objects, but it conditions the motion of those that can move, matter and life. So 46, for these modifications, read commentary on Sutra 7. Yeah. So here, which are incorporeal, I mean, which is not the usual kind of modification that can happen with matter. Okay, exactly as water is indifferent to the movement of fishes, so is the dharma, dravya, itself non-motive, the sine qua non of motion of souls and matter. Dharma and adharma are the substances with the help of which we can distinguish between the finite universe and the void beyond it. These media condition the motion and the state of rest the bodies. They are uncreated like space, time and matter and are coextensive with Lokakasa. Universe. Dharmastikaya neither moves by itself nor creates motion in other things, but it supplies the necessary means for the motion of living and non-living bodies. The attributes of Dharmastika are given in Shwetambar Sutra as follows. So we will stop here today and we will continue from here in our next part 4. Till then, Jai Jinendra.